Hello and welcome back to In the Word. My name is Jacob Toman here. I serve as the lead pastor at Ada Christian Reformed Church, and this week we will be reading through Numbers chapters 26 through 30. There are many ways for us to understand and appreciate God's Word to us in the Bible. And one way this week we will see is to grow in an understanding and appreciativeness of the uniqueness of each passage. The Bible wasn't written all at one time, nor did God use a lone human writer. We see a rich diversity of genres and topics within these 5 chapters that we're going to read this week. There is a military census record in Numbers 26 that we're going to read about, and this military census of chapter 26 is different from the previous count, the previous military record that we read about in chapter 1. Chapter 1 detailed those who were at least 20 years old and were able to serve in the military at the start of what we might call the wilderness generation, 2 years after the deliverance from Egypt. By Numbers 26, a significant amount of time had passed, and the previous generation had died out in the wilderness, just as God had said. Now, after the military census, there is a legal appeal regarding land inheritance for daughters of a father who left no male heir, as recorded in Numbers 27. Contrary to what some would claim about the Bible, God's word neither prescribes the hatred or debasement of women, nor the glorification or worship of women. Men and women, in God's eyes, have value as His image bearers. The economy of God's people was to showcase the provision of God in a meaningful way, even in exceptional circumstances like having 5 daughters and no sons. In the context of this clarifying inheritance policy comes a different kind of inheritance discussion. Who would inherit the role of leading this new generation of ancient Israelites when Moses would die? Just as God provides for daughters seeking inheritance rights, God provides leadership for a new generation by commissioning Joshua to replace Moses. A regulated calendar is then given, and it includes daily, weekly, monthly, and annual observances. It provides a rhythm for life for a new generation of ancient Israelites who knew nothing of slavery in Egypt, but also who really only knew the roaming of the life of the wilderness. For this generation born in the wilderness, they had heard the stories, but didn't have the memories personally to carry forward the story of the redemption of God from Egypt. The calendar laid out in Numbers 28 and 29 helps show how God's people were going to embody and carry forward the tremendous history of God's divine deliverances. Our reading this week then closes out in Numbers chapter 30 by detailing the protections and obligations regarding oaths made by women. A clear line of protection is drawn as daughters are to be lovingly protected by their fathers and wives are to be lovingly protected by their husbands. Widows and divorced women have different responsibilities and protections as detailed elsewhere. But regarding oaths, their words are binding for themselves. While at first glance these chapters are scattered, we can actually begin to see a unifying theme throughout all of these chapters. Our need for God's provision and God's supply for our needs. Whether our needs are for military protection or guidance in legal matters, whether our needs are for regulated ways to carry forward the good news of God's redemption, or for new leadership, whatever our needs are, God provides. When God promises to do something, God is faithful to His promises. When we are in need, we should cry out to the God whose character is to provide. Thanks so much for joining us this week. If you've got questions about anything that we're reading through together in the Bible, you can always send me an email, and I look forward to catching you next time.